Chers amis, nous allons donc conclure cette conférence annuelle. Je dirais déjà conclure. C'est étonnant, nous avons l'impression que nous avons à peine commencé à travailler et à nous pencher sur des sujets aussi divers que bien sûr le sujet central des archives et les industries culturelles, les industries de création, mais aussi tous ces sujets, la photographie dont Gérone est le centre de recherche reconnu à l'échelle mondiale, et puis tous ces sujets d'actualité, l'open data, la conservation numérique, les modèles d'affaires pour la mise en place de la conservation électronique, l'accès à l'information, tous ces sujets qui recoupent les axes prioritaires de l'ICA et bien sûr de sa commission de programme. Je voulais déjà dire un petit mot de remerciement à Joan pour avoir rendu ces choses possibles. Nous aurons l'occasion d'y revenir. Mais dans un premier temps, je voudrais donner la parole à un certain nombre de collègues. Je vais commencer par Margaret Turner, qui est notre officier responsable des traductions et des publications au secrétariat de l'ICA, qui va nous donner son premier retour sur cette conférence que nous venons de vivre.
Thank you. Is this working? Yes, it is. Thank you, Henri. I'm going to speak for about 10 or 15 minutes, just giving you my personal impressions as a delegate to this conference rather than a member of the extended secretariat of ICA. I hope the interpreters will be able to follow me. I will try not to speak too quickly, but clearly if I am, slow me down and I'll start again. So, when Joan Boadas first expressed his vision for a conference entitled Archives and the Cultural Industries, I personally did not find the concept a strange one. In my post as archivist of Sheffield City Council, this is a large municipal archive in the north of England, I presided over the move of the archives from its original home in the City Library to a converted building in what was called the Cultural Industries Quarter of the city. On one side of the archives is a municipal recording studio, and on the other there's an arts complex and cinema. So, while I was comfortable being physically part of Cultural Industries, I was curious to see how the chosen theme would translate into conference sessions. But from the first of the keynote sessions, it was clear how this vision would be reflected. A small but rich variety of disciplines were brought in to address us. Speakers from the worlds of cuisine, the arts, music and fine art, from history, journalism and broadcasting, over 3 days have explained how they have used archives. And for me personally, it has been a really enlightening experience hearing what they had to tell us. And gosh, what a wonderful city in which to hold a conference. Here in Girona, we can see exactly why the theme of creative industries was chosen for the conference. Girona teems with creativity and invention, from cuisine, and we sure will all remember yesterday's gala dinner for a very, very long time. From cuisine to the beautiful crafts available in the shops, from its architecture to pavement art features. The keynote speakers, coming as they did from a wide variety of cultural backgrounds, have broadened our perception of ourselves and our roles to new contexts and have helped us to understand better the needs of these important groups of users, and to see how cooperation is not just a matter of us providing them with an archive service, but working together with them to understand and interpret the archives themselves. We used to define archives in terms of heritage and memory, but it is now clear, to me at least, we now also have to see ourselves as a central part of the cultural industries. Now, as I turn to talk about the programme, The first thing to say is that I faced the same sort of dilemma I think all of you did. What on earth to choose? Was it better to go to a session whose topic was familiar to me, something like access, and learn about developments in this field? Or should I go and learn about something I know is important, but frankly I find frightening, such as open data? Or to something I know very little about, to educate myself, like photographic archives? I decided to try to do a bit of all three, but obviously could not hope to cover many sessions myself. I'm therefore grateful to colleagues Stephen O'Connor, Margaret Crockett, Cecile Fabrice, Celine Hernandez, who have shared their views of the sessions they attended, and to my colleagues here on the stage with me, Ryder, Brenda and Roman, who will also be sharing their thoughts with you after I have finished. But before I start, I should stress that these are my personal views as a delegate. Any misinterpretations are my own and no fault of the speakers. On the question of access, we learned about the new methods of outreach used in different countries. For instance, Lawrence Ward from London Metropolitan Archives spoke about the various partnerships LMA have had to make to make much of their material available online. These partnerships can be commercial, as with Ancestry, or with local communities. In his view, the digital world offers great opportunities for our sector. New generations of family historians are working online, and user requirements are changing. People expect to find the archive material they want online, and they expect it to be free. The future, he argued, lies in further innovation and collaboration with communities with commercial concerns. This message was reiterated by others. Harold Stuckert from Mannheim believed that we needed to have a much more entrepreneurial spirit and be more willing to think of new ways of service delivery. Digitisation offered new chances for public archives, he thought, and might even provide the answer to budget reductions, a scenario with which we're all familiar, I'm sure. We learned of specific projects which showed exactly what could be done to increase access in innovative and exciting ways. The Invisible City project from the city of Dornbirn in Austria was described by Werder Matt and was a wonderful example of collaboration between archivists, artists, and architects. There was also the City of Vienna project to create a semantic media wiki based on a printed encyclopedia of Vienna's history. And then there was Impona State University's strategy to interest students in archives and archival exhibitions using augmented reality. These are only 3 examples. There were many more, and I apologise to those who presented case studies and whose sessions I was unable to attend. But I take messages from these sessions which are, as a profession, we need good partnerships within organisations, outside our profession, and across various other professions. We need to consider who our audience is and empower this audience. And I learned most importantly that success generates more success. Technology is allowing us to embrace many new methods of outreach, and we should continue to use and exploit the technology as it develops. Turning to a purely practical aspect of access, Maggie Shapley spoke about adopting the principles of access to archives, which I'm sure you will remember were adopted by the ICA at its General Assembly in 2012. She recited her experiences and reminded us it was vital that the commentary accompanying each of the principles was read and understood in order to ensure that the principles were being fully complied with. I then, very bravely I thought, and in the spirit of self-improvement, ventured into a couple of sessions on open data, which helped demystify the subject somewhat. The speakers will be pleased to hear, and this is no end of a miracle, knowing my capacity to understand things like that. It was a comfort to me to learn that there is no common terminology. In a strange way, a comfort, because this is also a problem. We talk about administrative data, big data, open data, linked data, official statistics, public records, and these are not necessarily linked. A useful definition for me was given by Elizabeth Shepherd, who says that big data is high volume, high velocity, and/or high variety information. This made it clear to me what the issue was. It is the underlying issue for good governance and record keeping, but there are still some unresolved issues around this. The terminology, I've already mentioned, the lack of technical skills in the profession, and slightly more concerning, the lack of a proper mindset in the profession to deal with this. So the question we must ask ourselves is, are we educating people with the right roles and skills in the educational programs? How do we raise the skills and knowledge of records professionals to deal with the challenges of the open government data environment? I have no answers, I just put these as questions. A session chaired by our new president, David Fricker, gave us 2 case studies, one from Brazil and one from Switzerland. And it is clear that the political move towards open data is very important and a great opportunity for us. Archivists, records keepers, whatever we call ourselves, need to speak up for ourselves, to stand up for ourselves in this new environment, to enable the profession to take best advantage, both political and economic. If we as a profession don't do this, someone will do it for us. Finally, I'd like to turn to a very specific type of archive about which I know very little because I had very little personal experience, and that's a photographic archive. Juan Alonso Fernandez spoke on fascist photographs during the Spanish Civil War, and he returned us to the basic question of how to interpret the documents. Many of the photographs he illustrated his talk with were reconstructed reality. They didn't represent the reality of what happened. This issue was also mentioned by Yael Hersonki in her keynote speech. And as photographs are primary sources, how do we deal with the dilemma of authenticity versus reliability? This brings me back to a theme I got from the keynote speakers overall. It's not the document as an object per se that's important, but it's its content. Jordi Savall spoke this morning using terminology very familiar to all of us, speaking of his selection criteria and how to interpret the material he finally selected. And it's clear to me that while electronic records are a huge problem, which needs to be dealt with immediately, as evidenced by projects such as the UNESCO Persist project, which we had a very interesting presentation, it is some comfort to me as one of the older members of the profession that content continues to be important, continues to be discussed, and that the content is important even in the electronic format. This is, I take from this conference a sensation that this is a great time to be involved in the profession. The exciting technical and political challenges being thrown at us, one at the same time we still have to deal with the old stuff. The problems won't go away, and we're trying to deal with this with ever-decreasing budgets. How we deal with this is a challenge, but if the energy and enthusiasm generated by this conference, which I feel is almost palpable, if this is anything to go by, it is a challenge which we're very willing and able to rise to. Thank you.
Merci beaucoup, Margaret. Tu viens de le dire, nous sommes bien sûr toujours les professionnels du contenu, du contexte de production d'information. Et par rapport à ce regard que tu viens de porter sur notre conférence, je voudrais donner la parole à 3 collègues qui nous rejoignent cette année dans le cadre du programme Nouveaux professionnels que nous avons lancé hier en milieu de journée. Donc je vais donner la parole dans un premier temps à Brenda qui va nous donner ses impressions sur cette conférence à laquelle elle a participé.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Firstly, I would like to thank the ICA for organizing a program for the new professionals. I also want to express my sincere gratitude for the bursary that I was awarded, which made it possible for me to be part of the conference today. I also want to thank my two directors from Zimbabwe who are here present, the Director of the National Archives of Zimbabwe, Mr. Ivan Mrambiwa, and the Director of Finance Home Affairs, Mr. Ichisoko, for allowing me to be part of the conference. I learned quite a number of things by attending this huge conference, but first of all, I have learned or got to appreciate the importance of teamwork from the ICA. It's one lesson that I've learned from the team. Why am I saying this? We applied for the bursaries and the deadline was 15 September, but on the 22nd of September, I got a message from Margaret Turner congratulating me for being awarded the bursary. Then from Margaret, she introduced me to Anik, from Anik to Jody, from Jody to Mary, from Mary to Helen Walker, and the working, I haven't met these people, but although I haven't met them, I worked with them quite well, and they were so swift in their responses, they were so welcoming in everything that I was doing, and I felt at home, even if I haven't been to Europe as well. The things were just organized, the tickets were purchased on time, the invitation letters for visa application was just done, and all the correspondences would be copied to all the team members. So personally, and I've also learned that it is very crucial to uphold teamwork, be it in personal life or in professional life, for you to get results at the end. So I do appreciate that teamwork that is there in ICA, and I think I've taken one lesson from that. Also, from the second lesson I learned was the theme, a lesson drawn from the theme. The theme archives and cultural industries. I've learned quite a lot through this theme because if I make a retrospect to go back home, the mission statement of my organization is the National Archives of Zimbabwe acquires, preserves, and provide access to documentation which is of a legal or historical perspective. But when I came here, I had a new mindset because I realized that it's not only the historical documentation or legal documentation that can be considered as archives. I've learned that other archival institutions are breaking new ground and going into new territory. I've also realized that gone are the days where archives were regarded as dead old files or historical documentation. So I say a big thank you again to ICA to make me realize this new perspective in the field of archives. Also, archives and cultural industries, I've learned through various presentations that it allows collaboration between archival institutions and industry. I've also learned that archival institutions can break new ground in various disciplines like sport, arts, pharmacy, food. So I can also take this concept back home, whereby I will liaise with the oral historian to let her know what other countries are doing in breaking new ground for creating archives. Gone are the days when we used to inherit the way to do it from our predecessors. It's now high time to make a paradigm shift and bring something new to the profession. I thought I had learned it all when it came to marketing of archives, because I did a dissertation. My master's dissertation was titled An assessment of the information dissemination strategies at the National Archives of Zimbabwe. Although I thought I had explored the area quite enough, I've realized that I had left this aspect of collaboration, because I also learned through the various presentations that collaboration is also a marketing gimmick. We can market the services of our archives through collaborations with sport, pharmacy, and people who get to know much about archives. Archival institutions are not well known in most of the countries. For example, in my country, it is confused with the National Museums of Monuments or maybe the National Gallery of Zimbabwe. It is because we are not making an endeavor to market our services and products well. We are not really known. But these perspectives, I've liked it so much because a lot of people do like sports. A lot of people do like culture. A lot of people do like or enjoy using medicine. So if we make these collaborations, it is an opportunity for archival institutions to get known to the people. We try to sell our products quite faster than what we have been doing. So I thank the ICA for availing me this opportunity to attend the conference, for I have now changed the mindset of the way I used to view archives. Although I'm a new profession in the field of archival sciences, I have seen an opportunity, a vast opportunity for breaking new ground in research. It is not interesting for us to keep on researching of the things that have been covered before. This is a new platform whereby new researches for PhDs, new researches for master's program can be engineered from, but this is new ground. The research will then become more interesting. And like us talking of the life cycle concept, about like us talking of preservation, and like us talking of things that are already known in the field, this is an opportunity for us to break new ground. And thirdly, I also learned about open data. In Zimbabwe, we have got an economic blueprint that we call ZIMASET. In the ZIMASET, we are supposed to go like the e-government way by 2015. But although we are now in 2014, nothing much has been done about digitizing our archival documents. So from the workshops and the presenters, I got to know of the opportunities that are there or that can be offered through digitization, and the challenges that can be that can be faced, and the solutions as well. Then without taking much of your time, although I have learned a lot, lastly, I've learned from Europe, but I believe one of you here can also learn from Africa. May I take this opportunity to invite you all to in Sabika conference. Zimbabwe is proudly hosting in 2015 June, from the 8th to the 12th of June at the majestic town of Victoria Falls. Come to Zimbabwe and learn new things. I've come to Europe and I've learned new things. Thank you.
Thank you very much for this enthusiastic presentation. And now I give the floor to Ryder pour son retour sur cette conférence.
Hi everyone, I am Ryder Kouba. I'm the American Digital Collections Archivist at the American University in Cairo, Egypt, where I've been for 8 months. And I graduated from the University of Texas at Austin in 2012. If you're familiar with college football, we're the Longhorns, so hook 'em. And I'm very excited to be here. I want to thank, of course, ICA for giving me the bursary and the opportunity to come. As you may imagine, the economy in Egypt is not so strong right now. It's been better, and so AUC can't quite give me the funding maybe I need. And as a young professional, it's so important to meet other professionals, to hear what they're doing, and to learn. And especially as a digital archivist, with so many new programs and techniques being developed all the time, it's extremely important for me to stay active in the field and on top of it. So I'm really appreciative of ICA for giving me that opportunity, and I look forward to giving back by presenting in the future and sharing what I learned both in Egypt and in the States. So as I mentioned, the programs here have been truly excellent. I just wanted to say the program that stuck with me the most, perhaps unfairly, was the Estonian Crowdsourcing program. And as an American, most Americans probably couldn't tell you what Estonia is or where it is in the world. But it was a really great project, and something in Egypt that we're looking for. We're very understaffed, and using Egyptians who are fluent in Arabic, who have the skills that maybe I lack or my boss lacks, is something very valuable. And I was very excited to see this program project that I might not have learned about otherwise. And so that's something I definitely take back and share with my colleagues in Egypt, as well as talking to friends in America, fellow archivists in the States that can use that. Additionally, besides the excellent programs, what I'm sure we all found so valuable, especially at dinner last night after some champagne, was just talking to other archivists, sharing what we've learned, sharing what we do, getting to know people. And it's a small field, and it's wonderful to just have friends that you can turn to, you can ask for help informally, I have so many business cards I've gotten that I can email and say, how do you handle this problem? Or hopefully they come to me and say, we have some Arabic documents, how do you describe this, or can you help us out with this, translate, whatever. I think that's very important and something that we can all work and help each other out and make material accessible for the whole world. Lastly, I suppose, I've been sharing my thoughts on the ICA Facebook page about various sessions I've been to, which has been great, and I look forward to, as I mentioned, talking to colleagues in Egypt about this. I know Mr. David Leach has been to the last two SAA, Society of American Archivists meetings in the States, and is really trying to do a good job of building those bridges, and maybe you all are reluctant to have a wave of Americans come into your organization, but I look forward to the opportunity to share what I've learned here with American archivists. I think there's a gap. I know certain software programs, certain vendors we just aren't aware of in the States, and maybe they provide services we could really use. And so I look forward to working with Mr. Leach on doing that. Lastly, as I mentioned, I look forward to continuing to work with ICA, to being involved, to hopefully presenting what we're doing in Egypt, and hopefully helping some of you. And we all have the same problems, which is also very comforting to see, sitting in my office going, I don't know what I'm doing, this is horrible. And coming here and seeing, people have the same issues, and they're solving it in clever ways, and maybe I can apply that, and hopefully in the future I can help all you out. So thank you again to ICA and the funding, and I look forward to working with all you in the future. So thank you.
Et maintenant, je donne la parole à Roman, qui va nous faire son retour également sur la conférence.
Bueno, lo voy a hacer en castellano para darle un poquito de trabajo a las intérpretes. Mi nombre es Román Lescano, soy argentino, estudié cine y televisión y este año estoy recibiéndome de archivista, como dicen aquí. La verdad quería agradecer al Consejo Internacional de Archivos, a toda la gente que me dio la oportunidad de poder venir a Girona. La verdad que es una oportunidad única. Como mencionaba Ryder, la situación económica en Argentina no es la mejor y la verdad que, tener la oportunidad y el respaldo del Consejo Internacional de Archivos para asistir a una conferencia de esta magnitud ha sido un lugar en el que pude aprender muchísimas cosas, conocer gente de todas partes del mundo y también compartir problemas y compartir soluciones, ¿sí? Que por lo visto más o menos todos tenemos las mismas problemáticas, pero distintas soluciones, así que eso también fue muy interesante para mí. No voy a ahondar demasiado en todas las sesiones que vimos porque Margaret las cubrió a la perfección, pero pude aprender muchísimo sobre metadatos, fotografías, archivos audiovisuales. La sesión de fotografía y fascismo la verdad que fue muy interesante, lo pude comparar con situaciones políticas en Argentina ocurridas no hace demasiado tiempo. Muy interesante fue también ver cómo se desarrolló la Asamblea General del Consejo Internacional de Archivos. Nunca había tenido la oportunidad de ver cómo se desarrolla un órgano internacional, una institución internacional. Muchísimas gracias una vez más al Consejo Internacional de Archivos, gracias a todos los amigos nuevos que me hice acá. Y también los quería invitar a Argentina. Argentina es un país hermoso y si todo sale bien, en los próximos años Argentina va a estar más presente en el Consejo Internacional de Archivos. Muchísimas gracias a todos y espero verlos en Argentina o el año que viene en el próximo consejo.
Merci beaucoup, Roman. Vous avez entendu la voix d'une collègue expérimentée, la voix de jeunes collègues qui viennent de nous rejoindre. Avez-vous des réactions? Souhaitez-vous nous faire, à l'attention de l'ensemble de nos collègues, des retours sur cette conférence? Ce que vous en avez retiré? Je pense qu'il y a sans doute un micro qui peut circuler parmi vous et qui vous permettra de prendre la parole. Je vois rien, donc je ne sais pas si certains d'entre vous souhaitent prendre la parole. Bien, donc...
Si quieren puedo seguir hablando.
Bien, mais écoutez, ça veut donc dire que le contenu de cette conférence vous a convenu par toutes les pistes qu'elle ouvrait. Je dois dire que, en ce qui me concerne, j'ai toujours été absolument convaincu de l'importance des échanges internationaux. J'ai eu cette chance, quand j'ai commencé ma carrière, d'être invité par Jean Favier. Je voudrais d'ailleurs rendre hommage à sa mémoire, puisqu'il vient de nous quitter. Jean Favier, qui a été très longtemps le directeur des Archives de France, qui a été pendant 4 ans le président de l'ICA. Jean Favier m'a invité au Congrès international de Bonn. Je ne savais même pas que l'ICA existait, je ne savais même pas qu'il y avait une coopération archivistique. Et immédiatement, en début de carrière, j'ai donc été introduit par le biais de traduction, puis ensuite de participation à des groupes internationaux, à cette dimension absolument essentielle de notre métier. Je crois que cette formule de la conférence annuelle que nous sommes en train de mettre en place rend en quelque sorte chaque année comme année de congrès. Et c'est en cela que nous avons effectivement une possibilité extraordinaire de nous rassembler, de partager nos expériences et de débattre de sujets aussi nouveaux que celui qui nous a été proposé, et puis d'avancer dans toutes les pistes de progrès de notre métier. Je voudrais, avant d'appeler Joan Boadas à me rejoindre, citer cette remarque entendue ce matin dans l'une des conférences. Nous avons peut-être été trop modestes, pas assez ambitieux en écrivant notre Déclaration universelle des archives, puisque nous n'avons pas pensé à y ajouter le fait que les archives devraient favoriser l'imagination et encourager la création. Et très honnêtement, moi je retiens cette phrase qui a été donnée par l'un des intervenants. C'est à cela que nous appelle cette réunion en particulier et l'ensemble de nos conférences annuelles. Donc je voulais encore vous remercier de votre participation à cette conférence et j'appelle mon ami Joan Boadas à la tribune. Merci à vous.
Bé, bon dia a tothom. Per nosaltres, a Catalunya encara és bon dia. Per molts de vostès ja sé que és bona tarda, però encara no hem dinat. Per tant, seré breu. I abans de res, i abans de donar les gràcies a tots els membres d'aquesta taula, els he de recordar una cosa més prosaica. Sisplau, quan surtin, deixin els cascs de traducció a les taules que hi ha per a aquesta finalitat, perquè tenen un cost molt important. Gràcies. Per un arxiver i per un arxiver municipal d'una ciutat com Girona, segurament que no hi ha un major privilegi professional que organitzar una conferència mundial d'arxius. Els he de confessar que quan ara fa més de 30 anys jo era un jove arxiver o podem formular-hi diferent. Jo era un arxiver més jove que ara i em vaig fotografiar, o la meva dona em va fer una fotografia davant de la seu del Consell Internacional d'Arxius a la rue Franc-Bourgeois, a París. Mai no hauria pogut pensar que una situació com aquesta que hem estat vivint aquests 3 dies s'hagués fet realitat. Modestament, em sembla que d'aquesta experiència en podríem extreure una lliçó. Siguem ambiciosos. Vull dir, siguem professionalment ambiciosos. No posem límits a la nostra feina pensant que allò que volem fer no serà possible. Els puc assegurar que quan tens un bon projecte entre mans, al teu costat només hi acabes trobant complicitats i persones que t'ajuden. Almenys això és el que m'ha passat a mi sempre. I en aquest cas, en aquest congrés que ara estem a punt de clausurar, aquest cas, deia, no ha estat una excepció. No repetiré el meu discurs d'obertura, però no em puc estar de dir que només tinc paraules de gratitud que van adreçades tant a les més altes estructures del Consell Internacional d'Arxius, representat aquí per el nou president i pel secretari general, el senyor David Leach. Deia gratitud a aquestes persones de les més altes estructures, com gratitud als responsables de controlar els més petits detalls d'aquest esdeveniment. Tot i no voler-me repetir, insisteixo, penso que tots plegats no podem concloure aquest congrés sense fer un agraïment específic al conjunt del personal tècnic del Palau de Congressos de Girona. Gràcies als responsables de so, de la il·luminació, dels serveis informàtics, als responsables de sala, als hostes, a les hostesses, als voluntaris, a les voluntàries, al personal de neteja, que a vegades l'oblidem, als coordinadors, al personal d'IN, el nostre OPC, en Jordi i la Mireia. En definitiva, gràcies a totes les persones que amb la seva professionalitat, els seus esforços i la seva competència han fet que el nostre treball hagi estat més còmode i més fàcil. A tot el personal responsable del càtering, des dels cuiners fins als cambrers i les cambreres, moltes gràcies. Els traductors, que ara naturalment ens estan escoltant, gràcies de nou, ho vaig dir al començament, per la vostra professionalitat i per la vostra eficàcia. Gràcies, i ho he de repetir, gràcies una vegada més a l'increïble equip de l'Arxiu Municipal de Girona. Jo en gaudeixo cada dia. I gràcies a l'equip del Consell Internacional d'Arxius, em refereixo a l'equip més administratiu. I d'entre ells, gràcies a l'Anic Carterer pels seus anys, naturalment, de dedicació i servei, però pel que fa a mi, el meu cas particular, gràcies per al seu tracte sempre amable i carinyós. M'agradaria que a tots els professionals que he esmentat i a l'ANIC en particular els dediquéssim un fort aplaudiment. A l'ANIC ens complau obsequiar l'ANIC des de Girona, des del Congrés Arxius i Indústries Culturals, amb aquest ram perquè recordi la seva estada a la nostra ciutat. Gràcies, Anic, per la teva feina. Bé, ara sí que acabo. Gràcies naturalment, a tots vostès per fer que el nostre anhel esdevingués realitat. Sense la seva presència, els nostres esforços no haurien tingut cap sentit. M'agradaria pensar que tots nosaltres deixem aquest Palau de Congressos més enriquits intel·lectualment, més enriquits culturalment, més enriquits professionalment i, sobretot, més enriquits humanament. Si hem aconseguit aquests objectius, ens sentim i ens sentirem molt més que ben recompensats. Gràcies i fins aviat.
Tu me permettras un dernier mot. Au nom du président du Conseil national des archives et de tout son comité exécutif, au nom de tous les participants, je veux vraiment te dire toute notre gratitude. C'est un projet que tu nourrissais depuis de nombreuses années. J'ai l'impression que depuis que nous nous connaissons, c'est un projet qui était quelque part au fond de tes projets, et tu l'as réalisé, tu en as fait un succès extraordinaire dont nous avons tous bénéficié. Merci mille fois, en mon nom propre, mon cher ami, et au nom de nous tous. Voilà, et maintenant nous allons déjeuner.